There's hope for my city. We are the chosen ones. We are the light, reflecting His only Son.
All right. Well, this is going to be a treat. What a blessing to be able to be among all three of you. There's an incident, or maybe a number of incidences that took place that joined y'all together back then, and gives us a reason to come together here today. Before we get into that, could you introduce for the crowd, the folks that are watching, to everyone who you are, who you were back then, and then just catch us up on who you are now, and then we'll kind of get into some of the story behind all that. Chet, would you start?
Yeah, so my name's Chet Long. I'm a commander at Waco Police Department. But prior to when I first worked this incident or was involved in this incident, I was a detective in our narcotics unit.
Josh Fischer. Today I'm a detective. Back then, sorry, I went in reverse. I was a patrol officer in South Waco.
Okay. And for myself, I'm Adrian, last name Casarez, a.k.a. Peanut, from Waco. I wasn't friends with these guys at first, but they're my buddies now. But that's how this has come about.
All right. Could y'all start off by talking about that day or those days that were approaching whenever y'all encountered Adrian? What was going on with y'all's thinking, and then we'll get to Adrian.
So on back in 2012, I was patrolling South Waco, the 220 area where I was working. We just caught off primary on our shift, so I was able to conduct more traffic stops because I wasn't answering calls as frequently. I was out of backup if I needed to be. I was traveling north on South 12th Street in our old Cox Grocery. Saw a truck going about 14 miles over the speed limit and decided to initiate a traffic stop. Adrian was the driver of the truck. Decided not to stop for me that night. I had put my spotlight on his driver's mirror. I saw him throw something from the vehicle, and we just happened to have another patrol officer very close who was able to pick it up right away, and we were able to identify that it was narcotics, so I was able to continue the chase. We chased a pretty good, long pursuit for Waco in terms of length, down LaSalle, up U Parks. In my 13 years in patrol, was the first car we were able to get a clean spike on the tire because his tires were starting to hit my truck. But I put on the radio where he came from. I knew the area he came from. I didn't know him, but I knew what area I knew he pulled off Brown Street, and he ran back to Brown Street. And then once we got to his house, he pretty much, I don't know. A lot of people run to try to get their cars back to their houses, thinking we won't tow them. And I kind of thought that's might be what he's doing. But as soon as we got home, back to his house, he gave up, and we didn't have any issues at that point. That's kind of, I knew from working that neighborhood for so long that there was possible narcotics trafficking coming from that house. So I decided that after Adrian was in custody that I would go start talking to the people in the house, and I was able to get into the house. And we had one closet that was locked, and we couldn't get into it. So we stopped there, and we called for drug enforcement to come write a search warrant. And that's when Commander Long was introduced into the case.
Commander Long, you want to come in with your side of it?
Yeah, so during that time, so just kind of a little history, Josh and I were beat partners for a long time prior to this, and I had the same love for dope stops and wanted people in criminal interdiction that he did, and so later I had moved on, and I had went to kind of our street crimes unit where I got to do that a little bit more full time, and then later went into narcotics. And so I got a phone call from him, kind of probably, I think it was probably a little after 1 a.m, and basically said, "Hey, I got this guy," and he said the name, and it was Adrian Casarez, and I was like, "Peanut?" And he said, "Yeah." I was like, "Man, yeah, that's a good one." I said, "What you got?" And he said, "Oh, I got this, got in a car chase. I had this dope, and And he's like, man, we can't get in this closet, man. Will you write a search warrant? I said, absolutely. So I called my boss. I said, hey, you know, they got Peanut. And he's like, yeah, go. He was, at the time, you know, we knew his name. You know, as we previously talked about, we had been watching him, and we knew that he was, at the time, he was part of a pretty well-known prison gang and had rank and things of that nature. So we were really, really kind of intrigued by those things and wanted to get him. So, yeah. So anyway, I went out that night and I ended up writing the search warrant. We did a search warrant. I think there was a couple other people in the house that ended up going to jail for little things here and there. And anyway, I remember going out to the car and trying to talk to Adrian for a minute, and he really wasn't having it. Wanting to talk much. And anyway, because of his history and stuff, after I had kind of finished the rest of the case, you know, it was kind of my job at that point, since I had taken that case on, to kind of see it through prosecution and stuff. So I remember because he had a pretty extensive criminal history at that time. He had been in prison a couple of times. He had been through the feds once. I knew that I could get a pretty strong case. And I was able to get it kind of dual prosecuted at the time, to where it would go through the feds and the state. So the feds would take it first, and the state would take it. Yeah, and that obviously that kind of leads to now. So
Okay, so Adrian, would you kind of share your perspective on that night in 2012 when Josh discovered you and threw the spikes and everything, trying to slow you down and stop you?
That night I remember I was in my alcohol addiction. I used to love to drink beer and sold drugs at the same time to support my drinking habit. And it was already getting late. I said, man, it's already getting late. I got to go get my beer for tonight in the morning. And it's about 11:30, something like that. They closed at 12. So I took off from the house. And I go down 12th Street. I didn't see Officer Fischer over there in the back. He was real camouflaged, real good. So I just kept on going because it was late at night. And I didn't even know I was going that fast, you know what I mean? But I did see his light on in his side of his car. That's what caught my attention. So,
You remember those oak trees right there before the church?
yeah,
Where it's real shaded at night?
Yeah.
That's exactly where I
that's,
parked.
yeah, that's where exactly. I didn't see you until, like I said, your lights were inside. I don't know what, they weren't on at first when I turned the block, I can remember. And then right when I passed you, that's when I seen the light come on the side. And I said, oh man, I looked in my rearview mirror, you was already behind me. My first reaction was to throw the dope and let's go buggy. We're freaking buggy down this 12th Street all the way back around back to my house. So that's what happened. I didn't know they put the spikes on me.
Oh, you didn't know?
No, I didn't know. because the last time, when I knew they put the spikes on me is when I went back down 12th Street and I turned the corner. That's when my tire just started bloom, 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 bloom. And he said that even the neighbors and all that, and my cousin lived across the street. She said, Primo, boy, you had 12th Street lit up like it was already Christmas because all the lights, everybody, I had
All
everybody, all the
lights.
police, the law enforcement, everybody was out there.
So,
And,
Josh, how do you go about doing that? How did y'all put the spikes? What do you got to do when all that happens?
So back then the policy was I had to have a felony to chase. And because it kind of just was weird how it must have been a Thursday, to be honest with you, that we just had a lot of people there for some reason. Because I had the officer find, I think he threw meth out the window, and then just officers were able to get to the area very fast. Like I said, in 13 years in that beat, that was the only time I've ever had a successful spike on a pursuit, because it just kind of came back around towards his house and officers were in the area, and just never been able to do that before.
Wow.
But his tire actually started to come off on Garden
Was it?
because it was hitting my car on Garden.
Oh, I didn't-
So
I
by
didn't
the time he hit those two right turns back to Brown, you're down.
Oh, okay.
You're on the rim. going down the going down there.
Maybe that's what the lights were looking at.
But I will
Sparks flying.
I will tell this. He had a very nice square body Chevy. It was a very nice truck, and I hated to do that to that truck.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved my truck, man.
What kind of truck was that, Adrian?
It was a 84 Chevy Silverado long bed.
Okay. Okay.
Beer bottle brown.
Beer bottle brown.
Chromed out, yeah, everything.
Okay.
Yeah, old school.
So continue, Adrian. You were getting spiked, and what was going on in your head?
In my head, really, it was like, man, I'm gonna go back to the house. Like officer said, he knew exactly what I said, man, if I go home, they ain't gonna tow my truck, right? That was the main thing I was thinking about. Well, I was wrong about that because they already had plans already on that. I think they already said, hey, get the tow truck, bring it in, because he thinks we're not gonna take it. So I pulled up, man, to the house, and I stayed in my truck until they started commanding me to get out and all that. And I was so messed up, man. My head, my life was all messed up, man. I threw the dope out, the meth out, and then I rode around, did a high-speed chase, and I still had an 8-ball in my pocket of coke.
Okay.
I had forgot about that. That's how bad my life was. I wasn't even thinking, man. I was worrying about getting away, thinking I was going to get away, but I didn't.
So what happened after that?
Well, they locked me up, took me to Highway 6. Highway 6, I stayed in there about 2 weeks, man. The feds already had a detainer on me. I was off federal paper about already 6 months, and I caught that new charge. And federal, they hurry up and put the detainer on me. I stayed in there for I got my federal time, and then within 6 months, and went to Highway 6, because they sent me to Jack Harwood, went to Highway 6, and maybe about a year and a half later, they gave me 30 years TDC. They habitualized me.
Okay, so meanwhile, where do you come in with your story on the? You say you went to the judge, or?
Yeah. So, kind of describe something about police culture, especially for those that are out there that are hustling. You know, like it's for us. You know, it's a real life game of cops and robbers. You know, cops get addicted to, you know, the ones that are really involved in drugs and guns and wanted people. I mean, we get, you know, it becomes a game for us. It's fun, and it's something that we kind of catch enjoyment out of a lot of time of, you know, going out and who doesn't want to get into car chases and arrest, you know, quote unquote bad people, right? And I'll be honest, at the time, you know, like kind of my feeling was, you know, Adrian was kind of a unicorn, right? Like he's the one you want to catch. So I remember when I got that case, you know, and Fisher called me, and I kind of had the opportunity, like, you know, what better than a guy that's like a long-term prison gang, you know, bad guy that's doing all these things. Like, what better to do than get him all the time that I can. And so at the time, you know, I don't think his mindset was in the change mode anyway. So, you know, my thing is knowing, reviewing the kind of his record and knowing that the feds would obviously take his case because he's already been down through them. He's already been through the state a couple of different times, that I knew that the feds would keep him. So I presented the case first thing the next morning. I went to the AUSA's office and I said, hey, there's this guy. And they were like, oh, yeah, we're going to take it, right? And it wasn't a whole lot of dope. So the feds normally won't take those kind of cases, but because he had been down federally before, I knew they would take it. So they issued the detainer real fast on him and said, hey, we're going to hold him. Because at the time, I didn't want him to get back out because I knew that if he got back out, you know, we'd probably be chasing him all over again.
Yeah. Well, so Adrian, meanwhile, you're in there doing your time. You get how long did you end up getting after him?
I ended up getting 30 years in TDC and 3.5 in the feds.
Well, man, you know, a lot of people get out. A lot of people say they want to change, and so, you know, I got out in the 90s, and you know, my life has been transformed since the 90s when I got out the feds. And I've seen a whole lot of people that get out too and say they're going to change, they want to change, but they actually don't change. And so when you got out and I seen it, I was skeptical, and rightfully so, because again, most people get out and say it, and then they don't change. They just talk about it, but they're not really being about it, and they don't do all the necessary things to get the help that they need. I've learned that a lot of people need help, but not everybody wants to help. And so the big factor when I see life transformation is when people not only need it, but they actually want it. They want it more, even as bad as they need it. And so, I have been observing you for years, man, and it really has blessed me to be able to see the consistency and God moving in your life, and you really being about God's business and being about the transformation that He provides, because you're a living testimony of it, right? And I've seen it, and so now it's been was it 7 years now um, since you've been living for God, and you put the flag down, as you say, or the towel down, or whatever. You changed your life. You made that decision. You let everybody know, and you're a constant factor now out here. You know, you're a part of things that matter. You want to be a part of things that help other people, and for us out here in humanity, that's encouraging, because we need all the help we can get towards the right direction. And so, we were going. There was I worked with the Waco PD and the sheriff's department on reaching out and doing positive things in the community. And there was a big event that the Waco PD put together, and a big shout out to Chief Cheryl Victorian, a good friend of mine, and everybody from the PD. And I was walking with Chet, Commander Long. Now we're walking around and with the chief and everybody else, just talking and conversating and saying hi to people. And I was looking for a guy, the guy that put in my heart to go and shake his hand and befriend him, now. And I was like, man, this guy's a real deal. He's really changed. And so I was looking around. I couldn't see him, but I went to the spot where he was at. So I was telling the people, hey, where's he at? They said, well, he went walking around. I was like, oh, man, all right. And I had told Chet, I said, hold on, man, let me go over here to this tent, and I'm trying to look for somebody real quick. Well, the gentleman ended up walking up, and we started talking. Well, at that time, Chet walks up, and the gentleman had his glasses on, gold all on, and, sunshades, and started saying who he was. And Chet says, well, actually, Chet, I want to let you share the story, man. Why don't you share the story?
So the way I remember it is funny, because, I still, even though like I recognize change, and I'm real big on like, people having second chances and things like that. I still see things, like tattoos and flat brim caps, and, the things that kind of like, they still kind of make me think, right? And like like you talked about, Gabe, you were talking about actually, people say they change all the time, right? And anyway, I kind of remember I was kind of standing, you were kind of in between he and and I remember he kind of like looked over at me, and he like reached his hand out, and he was like, hey, I'm part of this this outreach. And he's like, we all got testimonies. You mind if I share mine? And at the time, I remember thinking, I was like, man, I know this guy. And I was like, man, I can't place it. And I remember he's got a hold of my hand the whole time. And he's like, tells me his testimony. And I remember saying something like, hey man, what'd you say your name was? And he said something like, well, I really didn't, but we all got nicknames. And he said Peanut. And I remember repeating and saying, oh, Adrian Casarez. And he was like, yeah, see, I didn't even have to tell you my name. And anyway, I was like, man, I'm the one that put you in prison, bro.
Wow.
And I remember he like hugged me at that point. Like, he's like, man, thank you, saved my life. Like, going to prison saved my life. And I kind of knew in that moment, I was like, man, this could have went really, really bad, right? Because I still remembered it immediately, all flooded back. Like, I remembered his affiliation, I remembered all of those things. I'm like, man, this is gonna be a real vulnerable moment here, right? But I don't know, man. I kind of felt in that moment, just kind of called to like say, hey, man, like that was me, right? I'm kind of the one that caused all that for you in the end. And so, yeah, it was kind of pretty cool, and I know he and I got to talking, we exchanged numbers that day, and we kind of texted back and forth and stuff. And, kind of a few months later, you know, I was a patrol commander, and I kind of tried to put on a lot of my new troops. One of the things that, and Josh kind of taught me a lot of this whenever I was a young cop, is that, you know, always treat people with respect to get to where you want, you know, and, you know, no matter what, like, you know, we could chase bad guys, we can take them to jail, we can put them in handcuffs, we can do all that stuff, but you ain't never really got to treat anybody bad to do it. And 90% of that, what I learned, I know came from Josh and came from kind of working with him. And that was always kind of the way that I tried to police. And so some of the younger officers, you know, they don't really get that part. And so one of the things that I always wanted to impress upon my officers, I mean, with you and everybody else kind of sharing your testimony, sharing your stories, is that, you know, like you never know like what your impact could bring, you know, you never know like how somebody could change. So I remember asking Adrian, and his wife, you know, both like, hey, you know, you mind coming up and sharing with my officers, sharing your story. And it was kind of interesting because, I brought him into my roll call on a Thursday night and said, hey man, you know, you mind kind of sharing your story? And he did. And, there were several, like kind of some of the older officers that were in the room, like, man, like, that's crazy. I remember you. They were like, that's, you know, it's unbelievable. Right. I can't believe like somebody like him. But I think these stories are super powerful, especially with like police, to get out of their funk of thinking that they're just always that they're never gonna have you know, it's never really people aren't really gonna change. Like things aren't really gonna take hold. And know that, you know, that one, I think, interaction, could really change somebody's life. And you know, I don't know if we'd be sitting here if, like, you know, if it wasn't, you know, Fisher or somebody treated him bad, you know, during all of that, or they, you know, it would be a completely different story than it was. So, that's kind of one of the things I think that really has pressed me, is just realizing that our impact, whether at the time, you know, he obviously didn't want to be arrested and we really wanted to arrest him. And even at the time, like, he may not have seen the good in it. But obviously somebody else was working, you know, and I think that's really like, it's really a big part of all of this, is just seeing his transformation, seeing his change, and knowing, kind of almost in that moment, I mean, like, I believed him, like, it was genuine.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point. You know, Josh, there's obviously different outlooks on you know, when you're behind a badge, right? There's different preferences. You know, everybody has their way of doing things. What has led you to live out the way you work behind the badge in the way you do?
So from the very get go, I knew, like Adrian, if let's say he did fight me, he did spit on me, he wasn't spitting on me as a human or me as a. He didn't know me. He just wanted to get away, or he's spitting on a uniform, not me as a person. So you have to be able to differentiate that. You can't get mad at somebody for the way they act towards your uniform. Pretty much. I was taught that from Ben Rush too.
Wow.
The legend Ben Rush.
Wow. He is a legend. I hear his name all the time.
If you want to talk about one of the best officers that'll treat you the best, it's Ben Rush. Ben Rush cares about people and cares about people he arrests. He even cares about them. And Ben's a good man.
Get him in here to talk to you too, Gabe.
Yeah, no, that's gonna be good.
He'd be the guy to talk to you. For sure.
Believe me, I have several other agencies have been bringing up his name for that, so we're definitely gonna have to do that.
Yeah, Ben's a legend. You know, he's just he's real good on the streets. Back in the day, he knows everybody. He treats everybody the same. He's a real good guy.
So, Josh, how long have you been policing now?
About 23 years.
23 years. So, prior to being influenced with someone like Ben, What was what was your outlook before? Was it different? Did it change, or did it just further your understanding of how to do that?
No, I did 9 years in the Army, and
Okay.
you can't take care of your guys like that. So I learned, I guess, pretty much how to take care of guys like that. And I never, I mean, I'll tell you, when I was young, I had anger issues, so I really did, and I just had to learn how to control that and not treat anybody like that.
Mm. Okay. So it just further reinforced having someone like Ben to kind of coach or mentor, just inspire.
Yeah, when you have somebody like Ben that you respect, it's so much easier to learn from, I think. And he never tries to make you respect him. He just earns your respect by who he is. And when you see him and you see him on the streets and how hard he works, you just naturally learn from a man like that.
Wow. So I see like a ripple effect of how, just modeling it is really such a big deal because, Commander Long, you're saying that that's kind of been part of your story with Josh is him modeling it. How different was that from maybe your perspective before?
Talking about for me?
Yes, for you.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I so I mean I can unpack a lot. Like I wasn't really like the best of kids, right? Like I was kind of a little turd when I was in high school, and I went in the military, and and like Josh, I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps, and you kind of learn like leadership skills and traits and stuff, and you realize that like not every problem is a nail, and not every solution's a hammer, right? Like sometimes you've got to massage things, right? And so I kind of had a little bit of that, but what I would say is that there's a lot of reasons I think as police officers to be mad,
Mm.
to get upset about some of the people that you're dealing with. Like I said, you see people in and out all the time, same people that you deal with all the time, every day, every other day, whatever. And there's reasons that that stuff gets frustrating, but realistically, I think in the beginning, what I saw was like an opportunity to get what I wanted out of people. When you're friendly, when you're being more respectful, like you tend to get a lot further. Like you can talk people out of their dope sometimes, or you can kind of work your way into certain situations where you can get their dope or get them arrested. And I saw, the crazy story. I'll share a quick story. I'm not going to mention any names, but I had another beat officer at the time, and he was into the same type of work, but he took a whole different approach. And anyway, we were looking for this burglar guy one time, and he ended up finding him driving a car. And by the time I get there, he got the guy in handcuffs already in the back of the car, and and he's yelling and upset, and he's like, "Man, he won't let me search the car." And I said, "Why? Why won't he let you search the car?" He's like, "Cause he's just being a jerk or whatever." And I was like, "All right, hold on." So I went over there. He's in the back of the police car, and kind of start talking to the guy. I said, "Hey, man," I said, "what you worried about in that car, man?" He's like, "I ain't worried about nothing. There ain't nothing there, man. You want to search my car?" And I said, "Man, I kind of really do." And he was like, "Why?" And I kind of told him, I said, "Look, man, we know that you're out stealing. Like, we're just trying to make sure like you're above board, dude." He's like, "I'll tell you what, man, you can search the car, but that MFer over there can't." And I remember that, right? And really, it just kind of led to there's two ways to do things, and one way basically doesn't get you what you want, the other one does.
Mm.
And I think over time it kind of transformed to a little bit something different, because as I started policing a little bit longer and started doing it a little bit more, and especially I think a big turning point was my street crimes, and then into narcotics times. I started realizing that even people that were in like the heart of addiction, or selling drugs, or chasing a bag, or whatever they were trying to do, I started realizing that they were really no different than me, just going about life a different way. And I started kind of realizing that like there was a human side to everybody, no matter what they were doing. Right, we had a different value system at that time, but we still had mutual respect. And respect went a long way on both sides. Respect goes a long way for a cop, right? No cop wants to be spit on, disrespected, nothing like that. But neither do the people that were policing, right? And so I kind of started realizing that there wasn't a lot of difference. So it kind of really, I think it really changed in my mind during that time, especially when I was in narcotics and working with informants and stuff, and just realizing like their lives were in turmoil. But they had the similar value systems. They all wanted to be good parents, even though sometimes, they weren't because they were in their addictions or whatever. And, they wanted to have good jobs and stable houses and all this stuff. But sometimes people just didn't know how to get there. And I started kind of getting the idea, man, if only I could be part of like one person's change. One of my old narcotics officers, he already brought it up. I think Adrian brought it up during conversation earlier, Daryl Moore. I remember he would tell a story about a prostitute that he had arrested years before. And that prostitute every year, probably still now, Daryl's long retired, but every year would send him a Christmas card because she had completely changed her life, and that was impactful, hearing it from an old school guy like that. That's kind of who I wanted to be at that point. I want to say, man, so-and-so, right. They changed and now, and I was kind of part of that, so I think it all kind of came full circle in that way. But yeah, so it's more than just getting what I want now.
Yeah, Josh, what does it feel like, man, to be able to be sitting across from someone like Adrian that you encountered with, and for him to be where he's at now?
It makes me feel good. I was actually telling Adrian when I walked in, I've been very lucky, and I think it is because of the way I've treated people. I've ran across numerous people in the city of Waco that I have unfortunately put in the penitentiary that has changed their life. Like I said, I told him one story, and as we're sitting here, I thought about like 5 more of people that completely. I had ladies that are working now that come up and hug me and cry, thanking me so much that they've kept a job and they're just doing better in life, and it makes me happy that he's able to be with his family now and live a good life now and be proud of his life. I hope that makes me feel good. Like I said, sometimes you don't want to. The goal is never to put anybody in prison. It's to help the community, right? And back then, when you're a younger officer, that's what you feel like. The drugs are hurting the community, so that's what you're chasing. You're trying to fix because the drugs cause violent crime, they cause theft, it causes all kinds of stuff. So as a young officer, that's what you feel like, that's how I can stop it. If I can get, we'll never win the battle, right? But that's how I feel like I can protect my beat. I can protect this little community that I'm in charge of for 10 hours a day. And it feels good when you hear people that actually change through the system. It's not a perfect system, but we both been in countries where the legal system really makes you feel like the American system is close to as good as you can get. When I was in Iraq, I had a chief tell me he arrested a guy in a dream. So, I mean, it feels good here to have people that are able to change your life and be with their family and have time to be with their family.
Wow. Yeah. What do you think about that, Chet? What are you saying, the parallel from being out of the country in other places compared to here? Though we need improvement here, obviously.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anywhere in the world. I've been all over the world, in quite a few different countries. Like Josh, and there's no perfect system. But I can assure you that this is definitely the best. There's no perfect. There never will be a perfect system. They're all going to be flawed by man in some form or fashion. But what I can say is that we do have a system that allows for it does allow it at least allows the accused people to have a voice. Whether that voice sometimes is really well heard or not, that can be kind of left up to interpretation. But what I can say is that it's better than most other places. And I think it's getting better. you know.
Yeah, no, that's good. Adrian, um, this just so happens to be your story, and we're sitting here with Josh, Detective Josh, and Commander Long, and it just happens to be your story where these guys happen to have a posturing, a heart towards people to treat them with dignity, as humans, and even though they got a job to do. I know that's not the case everywhere, Adrian, but it happens to be the case here. I'm grateful to be a part of hearing about this and this happening in our city. But what is it like you on your end, both when before you changed to be able to have people who didn't cause harm to you, right? They took care of you. I mean, you had to go to prison. They put you in prison, because of decisions that you made. However, they treated you with dignity. How important has that been to you?
Well, just to hear them, speak, with me with the sober mind, them as police officers, you know what I mean? As they were speaking, I mean, I was pretty much putting myself in their shoes, you know what I mean? And before, I never thought about, them thinking that way, you know what I mean? How they wanted to treat, I say for myself, me being an ex whatever drug dealer, gang member, whatever is a criminal, whatever you want to call it, because I never thought any time of my life back then about a police officer thinking the way they were speaking a while ago. And to hear it, and to hear that, you know what I mean? You know, it's awesome. It's awesome because they do have a job to do, you know what I mean? But they do it because they love what they do. You know what I mean? It's not something that they forced on them. You know what I mean? I've learned, man, that God blessed these guys with the job because that's what they wanted to do. God trusted them, you know what I mean, with this job. And for me to hear those words, I mean, their experience, as them being law enforcement, you know what I mean, for so many years, you know what I mean, it's amazing, you know what I mean, to just to hear their side of the life story as they grew up, you know what I mean, and them being police officers, you know what I mean. And I'm very, like I told Officer Chet when I first we had an encounter, I told him, thank you, man. I said, if nobody's ever told you that, man, I'm going to say thank you, man. Thank you so much for what you do for this community. Yeah. And God bless you and protect you and your family, man. And I thank you for what you done. When he told me, he said, man, I said, don't worry about it, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. And I can actually say that. Thank you. Thank you, Officer Josh, man, for your support, your service, man. Because not every person, ex-criminal, ex-male, whatever is going to, they don't really know the other side of you guys' stories. I mean, nobody knows. And it's an honor for me to hear that and to be sitting next to you guys, you know what I mean? And to hear you guys' story, you know what I mean? And now I know you guys are human beings. You know what I mean? Before, I never thought about you guys, police officers, as
Being human.
just something that, hey, you want to go after us, and I know, man, I'm doing wrong. You know what I mean? You guys said, man, we're trying to protect our community, the community that I'm in charge of. That's what God trusted you with, and you're taking it with dignity and honor, man. And y'all going at it with what you're supposed to do, and it's good. It's music to my ears to hear that, you know what I mean, and to see what's going on around, you know what I mean, the city. And I'm blessed to be able to be a part of this. You know what I mean? It's amazing, man. And I pray to God, man, that whoever sees this, watch this, man. That these guys do awesome jobs, man. They don't have to, but they do it because they love what they do. And just to see a person like myself, I was nothing, but to see someone like me, a changed person, and to be someone in society now, being successful in society now. I want to get back to my community. That's what God put on my heart, and that's what I do now. I told my brother before, I didn't want to come back to Waco. I did not want to come back to Waco. But God said, no, I want you to go back to Waco. So I said, okay, I'm coming back then.
Well, I will tell you, you coming back and be able to stay as strong as you've been. To me, people ask us advice all the time of addicts or something like that. I always give advice: do not go back to your community because you'll fall back in. So you coming back to your community and being able to stay as strong as you have been is a very good, shows how strong you are.
Yeah.
can easily
Yes,
fall back in because you know everybody.
exactly. Yeah. And that's why I speak about it. I love, man. I'm gonna tell you, Officer Johnson, Chet knows, my brother knows, man. I love Jesus, man. If it wasn't for him, man, I would not be sitting right here today. I'd probably be gone, dead, or sitting still in prison. You know what I mean? Because all the time they give me. I know God's got a purpose for my life now, and I'm here, and it's an honor to be able to sit next to you. The guy that chased me. I mean, I didn't even know who chased me. I was just running from him. So I get to actually live and see the officer, a good man, good officer, man.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. Yeah, man.
Well, I tell you what, it brings hope to our city because of what you just said. These are great men behind the badge, man. They're obviously not perfect. None of us are. However, we strive to be better people and to treat people with dignity. Dignity is self-worth, right? When you can treat somebody with self-worth, I mean, that's a beautiful thing, like they're worth something. I'll just say this, it gives me hope in our city because if our folks out there that are knuckleheads that are trying to get things figured out and they're still stuck in the struggle, that are getting in trouble, I'd rather have gentlemen like this right here that they engage with and people just like them, men and women behind the badge, that have this type of outlook and treat people with dignity than the opposite. And so I thank God for you guys for doing what I do. Those of you who are watching, man, here's what I do. God put this in my heart. When I see someone from law enforcement agency that are police out there, man, I'll go and just tell them thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
It's a small token of our appreciation for what they do because they put up with people like me and Adrian the way we used to be.
Yeah.
We were knuckleheads. There's no bones about it. And if I can be honest, I know I meant to hurt people back in my days. I just had a messed up mind, a messed up outlook on life at the time. And I know Adrian uh, didn't care about people at times. We're different now, but once upon a time ago, we were in that mindset. And this is what police have to deal with, folks in their worst, that are at their worst. You got to deal with us every single day. So thank you for putting up with
Yes.
people like us that are trying to do the best that we can with what we got. And, we end up getting locked up and, God does miracles in that, and we get out and we're different because of our past experiences. Had we not gotten in trouble, we wouldn't be here. If we wouldn't have got the spankings or whatever it is, we wouldn't understand that when you do wrong things happen to you. There's consequences, but there's also benefits. Whenever you're looking to be a productive person in society, like Adrian is.
Man, and also I got to go inside the Waco Police Department.
That's crazy.
And speak to these guys, man. That's who can only do that.
I want to say something about that. Adrian kind of charged, people that may have be in his situation. I also kind of, I think from this standpoint, like I also want to kind of charge other police officers that may listen to this, may see this, that don't lose faith in the job that you do. It's easy to get caught in the struggle of like the revolving door and seeing the majority of people that you deal with, that maybe don't change. But you don't know if it's going to be that second, that third, that fourth, that fifth time. I don't know how many times, Adrian, how many times you were arrested?
About 15.
About 15, yeah.
Wow.
You never know, and I think that's something to think about, and and it's important. It doesn't, there's this struggle, I think, in the justice system a little bit about the cross between accountability and and holding people accountable versus not. And, accountability is just as important.
That's right.
I asked Adrian in front of about 40 something officers that night. I remember asking him, the question I try to ask everybody who shares their testimonies: if you wouldn't have went to prison, would you have made the change that you did? And the answer overwhelmingly has been no. And so, accountability is important, but you just never know. You never know in that moment. So if this is the time that it's going to work. And so I just say that I'm proud to know this man, and I hope that these stories and his story and your story, Gabe, and everybody else's story, that these are going to snowball. because people ain't gonna listen to the cop in the moment, right?
Yeah.
But they'll listen to people that live the life that they have. And so, yeah, I think that overall, like, I love these stories, and I hope that they make a lot of change.
Yeah, Adrian, real quick, what do you could you speak more to that? The question that he asked you when you went to go speak to the police there when he invited you to the tower about not if you had not gone to prison, you wouldn't have changed. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. You know what? I never been asked that question before.
Okay.
But to be honest, man, I'm glad he did ask me that question, so that people would really know. I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't have changed. I would still be living in my life of stupidity. You know what I mean? The choices I made in life, thinking I can live life on my own, make the right choices, thinking they're the right choices, but they were all wrong choices in life. So I wouldn't have never changed. That was an amazing question because I've never in my life ever been asked that question. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
uh, I never, and for him to answer that, ask me that question, man, it was like, wow, boom, it was just something that had to be honest. I would no, I wouldn't have.
Mm.
I wouldn't have. And
Yeah, so I'd like to say that those of you who are watching, if you have somebody that's locked up doing some time, continue to reach out to them, encourage them, and say some prayers for them because change is possible and it can happen. And so, man, y'all be encouraged out there. Do y'all have any final words, any of y'all that y'all like to say to the people that may be watching, both from the law enforcement side agency part of it or those that are just in the community?
for the community, man, it's the community is something that I suggest everybody be a part of. Don't be afraid. Everybody. I don't know. I know back in the day, everybody if you seen people seen you talking to the police or doing whatever, whatever, whatnot, they will call you a snitch or whatever. I'm going to tell you right now, if it was one of your family members, you know what I mean, and it hit home, I don't think you'd be thinking about that. And I think if anything, man, I've been out ever since I've been out of prison, man. There's so much stuff that's going on in our city that I pray to God that, man, people will have courage, man, and boldness, man, to help the community out, man, solving a lot of this stuff that's going on around here. And it only starts with us. The police officers are there to encourage us, to keep us safe. But if we keep adding gas to the fire, there's no way it's gonna get cleared up. So I ask, man, please, man, y'all just be open minded, man. Think of your home. Think of your families, man. These people here, these guys right here, they have families. They got to leave every morning, every evening, but they're not guaranteed to go back home. You guys are, if you're able to. And sometimes it hits home. Don't be afraid, man, to speak to these guys. These guys, they're humans just like us, and they got a heart just like us too. So do not be afraid, man. Don't be listening to all that snitching and all that. That's not even a word. No, that's dead. Let me tell you that right now. What you're doing, you're giving knowledge, you're giving information. You're not a snitch. You're giving information. That's back in the game. That's way people. That's not happening no more. Just be helpful, man, to your community, especially to your family, man, your loved ones, and these guys too. They're good people. Just gotta know them, man. Gotta know them, and quit judging them by the cover, the outside. You got to open them up, man, and get to know them.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. We're all tatted up and look a certain way. We don't like to be judged. We don't be judging people who are who are uh, who have a badge and wear a uniform. Man, don't judge people for that. That's somebody's mom, somebody's dad, somebody's uncle, brother, son, daughter, things like that. Man, they're human just like us. I like that you said that earlier. That you didn't realize that we're human because that's why we do what we do is to humanize one another in the community. So many times, ex convicts get looked at a certain way, or people that been in trouble, get looked at a certain way, and have a jacket, and you know you're no good or you never are going to be any good, whatever. And then those that are in law enforcement with the badge are looked at a certain way. We're here to humanize each other and to affirm the God-given dignity in each other. And we hope you guys stay encouraged. Anybody else? Chet, you got any closing thoughts about anything?
Yeah, I mean, just hearing Adrian kind of just a minute ago, I'd say that I think my thoughts to that is, yeah, I mean, cops are human. We bleed, we cry. We have the same emotions as everyone else. And I think most of all, what's really interesting is that we also can become really cynical, and we can get to a point where we stop trusting certain people, or even more especially, just like I kind of talked about with Adrian that day, is that what was crossing my mind initially was like, oh no, just because that's like it's kind of my intuition now. But I would tell people to push past those fears, push past those boundaries that you have, and formulate a real relationship. Because it's not until, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but years ago, some of the best conversations, I know Josh and I have talked about this before, some of the best conversations we've ever had have been through a plastic partition in the back of our car. And
I'll second that. Some of the greatest conversations have been on the way to jail. I even know officers that have rapped with people all the way to the jail.
Wow.
You have, if you're honest with each other, I mean, yeah, we know you did wrong. Just go off how you act. Even if you've done something wrong, if you act right, we're going to act right. Right. I think that you were acting right that night. So I'm not saying we would have treated you any different if you weren't, but I know majority of officers, if you act right, they'll act right from the get-go. That's just human nature. I mean, think about it. You walk into Walmart and the cashier starts cussing you from the get-go. How are you going to act?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not just police. That's people in general. They are going to react how everybody reacts to each other in nature, right? So really, that's really what it comes down to.
I really want people to think about, like, push past your boundaries. If you fear cops, talk to them, right? And have some legitimate conversations. And if
go to the events y'all make.
Yeah,
definitely
come to our events. Yes,
man, go to the events. You'll get to know them. I met Baylor officers when I went to the last event over there. The sweetest, man, people, man. They're giving me free stuff, shirts and everything. They're awesome, man. They're just people, man. They just want the best for our community. Come to the free event. They're all free.
So one thing we do teach in the some of our classes is the responsibility. Safety is a community's responsibility. Police officers are just part of the community who are paid to take care of the community. But it's overall the responsibility of the whole community for everybody's safety.
Exactly.
No, that's good. I just want to say, for every action, there's a reaction. And I think 100% of people out in the community, just regular civilians, can identify with what y'all are saying. Sometimes we act like we don't. We have amnesia, but because it's coming out your mouth. But we understand if especially us people, we're thrown off out in the streets, don't even look at me, let alone look at me crazy. We got this crazy. I mean, we understand, like, you treat me a certain way, keep that same energy. I'm going to give you the same energy you give me. So we understand it. We just act like we don't, right? And we kind of look at you as cops, like, or law enforcement, like, you're not supposed to police. You're not supposed to have any feelings or have any rules as a human. But it makes sense, because we're out there, don't start nothing, there won't be nothing. Right? We say that all the time. Like, you don't want no problems, don't start no problems, there won't be one. But I think we got to understand that when it comes to, those that are behind the badge, man, just treat them like you want to be treated. And if they're treating you in a way that you don't want to be treated and you ain't doing nothing wrong, then, we talked about this with Chief. There's matter of fact, can we just say that for a minute real quick? Like, what can you do if somebody's treating you a certain, like, honest to God, treating you a certain way and you're not doing anything to them?
Well, first, go off what the officer says, just so everything's safe, right?
Okay.
After the fact, you have all types of ways to make a complaint against that officer, and the sergeant will investigate it. The internal affairs will investigate it. We have the name of it. professional conduct committee will
Mhm.
investigate it. There's all types of investigations that can happen, but at the time, act, follow what the officer's telling you to do. You can handle that situation afterwards. We just want you to be safe right then and there,
That's good.
and then you can handle it later. There's no reason to do it right there that second. Let's
Right.
get you safe. Let's get everything done, and then you can complain.
And in the moment, I think in the moment you can just in that very moment, if you don't feel like it's going the way that it should, or you think you want to file some sort of a complaint or a grievance, you can always ask for a supervisor on scene as well.
Okay.
So that's always another possibility, like in the moment. But like Josh is saying too, I mean, it is good to don't let the situation ramp up your level of response to how you're being treated. Just keep it cool until you get to the end of it, so that way you can actually make the complaint as well.
Yeah.
You think about this: a cooler person making a complaint is way more believable than somebody that's raising hell making a complaint. Right?
Well, on that note, I mean, I just think don't just let's just treat each other better in the community, right?
Yeah.
How about we keep the same energy of just being kind to one another, of not trying to fight each other and go off on each other. I just think if we keep that, what we're talking about to treat the law enforcement how they treat us, how about we just do that collectively as a community
Yeah.
of people? It'll be a better place for us to live. Not that things always go perfect, but I think it'll actually help if we just look at one another as humans and treat each other, right. I think that goes a long way,
Yeah.
So just in general, man, let's do that. Let's make Waco a better place to live because of our approach, how we look at people and treat one another. So with that in mind, man, I think that'll do us for today. But hey, God bless each and every one of y'all, and thank y'all for you three for coming out here. And I don't think this has been done before, man. This is pretty cool. I'm beside myself just being able to experience this.
When he asked me to do it, I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "All right, we'll do this."
But I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did.
It was always, man, nice to meet. It never got to this first time.
Well, I'm glad that you live out behind the badge the way you do and have,
Yeah.
because it made an impact on I call him my brother, man. Commander Chet, man, because he's told me some stories of how he used to be before, but how folks like you have influenced him and showed him better than you can tell him, with your life.
Yeah, the officers that I started with were great, like Sergeant Zaboro. He's another one. Ben Rush. All those guys taught me that way, and that's the way I just carried it on to every officer I trained after that. So.
Well, for all y'all watching, let's keep that going. Let's keep it going towards one another.
Amen.
All right, out in the streets and on the beat. So there you go. God bless y'all. We talk to y'all later.